Hello everybody and welcome to Chit-Chat Tuesday. I'm here with Medium Allan Jones tonight. It's going to be a really interesting one, and we'll hear a little bit about Alan's first spirit sighting when he was a child in bed. Also as well, I will be talking to him about, because I know he likes using cards for his readings, some of the cards he likes to use. But also as well, which we will go into, Alan was unwell reasonably recently. I mean, not like sort of months or anything, but it's good to talk about this because I think that sometimes we all can be guilty of overworking, and I think that by learning some things to maybe look out for and when you might be taking on too much will be really good and beneficial to all of us. I must say hello to Cowabunga, who's been here waiting, and it's nice to see you. Annie is here as well, and Alan is good friends with Psychic Beth, the wonderful pet psychic, so there's the connection there, and Beth was absolutely wonderful too. So, Alan, is there anything else you'd like to add before you go into when you had your first hello Wendy, paranormal experience as a child and you saw a figure at the end of the bed?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Nice to be here. Thank you, Paul, for inviting me. Very nice to be here. My very first spirit contact was very early on. I was very young. I used to be very frightened to go to bed. I was one of three. I've got two older brothers. Unfortunately, my eldest has passed now, bless him. But only recently, my other brother said to me that they used to have to go to bed with me because I was scared of the ghosts. Well, I don't really remember it. I remember being scared, and I remember being terrified actually, and hearing voices, seeing dark shadows, head under the pillows, trying to get it away. My brothers were, once I was asleep, were allowed to go back downstairs because there was quite an age difference. But he did say to me the other week, "Do you not remember when you used to be frightened of the ghost?" So I guess it was before my actual memory, because my first real memory is again, I was in bed alone, and I just saw this figure of a man standing at the end of the bed. Probably one of the first times I could actually make out features. Frightened, absolutely frightened. I guess I was probably 6 or 7. And I screamed, of course I would, ran out the bedroom, went to my mother. She sort of listened, but not really listened. It was just a child thing, I'll go back to bed. You're just imagining these things. There's nothing in the room. Went in the room, the lights are on, nobody there, get back into bed. It was a while after that we actually spoke about it, and I do remember the conversation of explaining this gentleman, as I say, what he looked like. My dad died when I was 8 months old, so I had no recollection whatsoever of what he looked like. There was no pictures around the house, so it was, I just didn't know. It was just this man standing at the end of the bed. Didn't say anything, just looked at me, as I say, screamed, blah blah blah. It was later that my mum asked me what he was like, and I said he was standing with his hand on the top of the door, and that she cried, burst into tears, and said, "That's how your dad used to stand." Well, I didn't know my dad, so I wouldn't have known that as a trait. That was my very first real sighting, but previous to that, I think might have kicked it off. I witnessed a murder when I was about 5. In the street opposite. We lived in a cul-de-sac, and there was a cul-de-sac opposite, and somebody got murdered, and I actually witnessed that. I do vaguely remember what went on. I remember the screams. I remember vaguely seeing it. So maybe that was the catalyst that actually kicked all this off. Not sure. But after that, I thought it was normal. I did know that I was probably different to a lot of kids because I'd see things. I'd know things about people, or know. Growing up, I always kept out of trouble. Not trying to keep out of trouble, but I always felt as though I was looked after. It was a strange one. Growing up, I just thought things were normal when you'd see these people staring at you. Got used to the people in the bedroom, and I guess I got to the age where I could learn to switch it off, I guess. or ignore. And it was some time later, I saw again this gentleman, strangely, in Wolverhampton town centre, staring at me again across the road. I was with some friends, and I stopped, and I remember saying to them, "That's my dad, that's my dad," but they couldn't see him. And then he just dissipated and disappeared into the crowd as was. So there was a couple of times I'd seen my father. No real interaction. Kept it quiet a lot of the times. Didn't tell many people about the things I was seeing, hearing. Used to hear voices all the time. Could never really make them out, but they were there, and I used to think it was myself. As I guess we all do when we were discovering this. But it got to a point where they were calling my name. And I thought to myself, well, it can't be me, because I wouldn't refer to myself in a third party as by my name. Started to listen, started to try and make out what I could. Again, totally secret, not telling everybody. Went from my teenage years like that, being totally honest. I won't say that I was troublesome, but I used to hang around, let's say, with the wrong people from time to time. And it would always be, I would go home, and then next day I'd find out that all trouble had kicked off, or they'd been up to something they shouldn't. And it was always like that from my teenage years. I kept out of trouble. Strange upbringing, strange teenage years. One-parent family as such. Very, very hard times back in the 60s it was. Looking, I won't go into too many personal, but there was another man who lived with us. I won't call him a gentleman because he was far from it. He was very abusive. So during my teenage years, and he was with us for 10 years. But that ended, and again, I couldn't have spoken about that sort of thing to him, because it would have been about an ear, and you're talking rubbish. Struggled with it for many, many years. Didn't know what to do. Always was attracted to the sort of the paranormal TV programs that were on, and anything that was a bit spooky. And it wasn't really until I left school, and I met my wife, who is now at 16. I was one day in a bedroom, and we were talking, and I said, I think I'm going to have to see a psychiatrist. And she says, well, I said, I'm hearing voices. And as a man I can see a man standing in the bedroom. And we hadn't been together very long, probably 6-8 months, blah, blah, blah. And I said, he's talking about a gold pocket watch. And his name's Eli. And she says, oh my, you got to come and tell my mum. Well, let's just say they were a strict Catholic family, or Catholic upbringing. So I was a little bit nervous that they'd think I was a bit of a lunatic. Eventually I went and told her mum, and her mum says, that's my dad. The pocket watch was something that she should have had in a will that never materialised or went missing, and his name was Eli. So I thought, oh, now I can make sense of it. And it sort of just grew really from there, to the point where I guess I went searching, read everything I could read, watched everything I could watch, tried to get as much information as I could and take everything in. All these experiences were going on. I was always seeing things, could never really communicate, but I could hear them talking. And then it was probably around 2000, the early 2000s, I got involved in the ghost hunting groups, because it was the only way I knew how to progress my spiritual journey. I'd had a couple of mediums that the family had readings with that I always refused. I would never have readings. And I remember one particular event where my daughter had a medium come to the house for a house party. My wife went and had a reading. My other daughter went. When I got to the house to pick my wife up, she says, you need to come and talk to this medium. She's been asking for you. And I was like, nah, don't believe it. I was still skeptical back in those days. I was still skeptical. I was like, nah, I'm not paying somebody to tell rubbish to me. She says, no, she's actually referred to you by name, and none of us have mentioned you. I said, well, all right, I'll go and see what she's got to say. Walked into the room and she says, you're Alan, aren't you? I said, yes. She says, well, I feel as though I need to tell you something. And I said, well, first of all, I need to tell you that I'm a skeptic. I don't believe that you can. But she did actually tell me a couple of things that had happened to me in my childhood that I have never repeated. I've never repeated, even to my wife to this day, some things. But she told me a couple of things, dropped a couple of one-liners that picked my ears up. And I thought, this lady knows something. She said to me, you need to come to my house. I need to teach you how to do this. You need to be doing this. Well, I already knew that, but I just didn't know how to progress. So I turned up this lady's house on a Saturday morning. Again, had no idea what to expect or what was going to happen. And there was another girl there as well. And there was 2 envelopes, and she put them in front of us. And she says, "There's a photo in those. I'd like you to read them. Tell me what you can." So I let this girl go first, and she opened the envelope, read the picture, did quite well, got some hits. It was obviously a family member of the medium. I won't mention the name because obviously it'll give it away. And then she says, "Right, your turn," but I didn't bother opening it. I just put my hand on the envelope, and I just told who it was. It was a nan who turned out to be a medium, who was in spirit. I also told her that she had to go to a top right-hand drawer of a dressing table and get a green box out with a necklace in that used to be a nan's. And the strangest thing happened. I heard her. She said to her son, who was also in the room, "Go and have a look in the dressing table." And at that, I just said, "No, you go and get it. You need the exercise." So without even thinking, it just came out. I just said that, and she looked at me and she says, "That's exactly what my nan would have said." And off she went. And at this point, I hadn't opened the photo. Came back down with this necklace. And I ended up then for probably an hour giving her a reading from a nan, and a nan was giving me information. She was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." And I was just in awe that she was accepting the information. And I just, how's this happening? I couldn't figure it out. I went away thinking I need to know more. I need to learn more again, research, books. Started to go and see these medium shows and started to go to their ghost hunts. And one night she said, she was at one of the demos, and she says, "I don't feel very well. If I don't feel well at the end, will you do the last 10 minutes? I said, "Well, I've never done it before." She said, "Well, just try." I said, "Well, okay, but don't be ill." And at half time, she came back on at half time and just said to the audience, "Well, I've had enough tonight, so Alan's going to take over now," and just threw me in at the deep end. Panicked a bit, and I just go for it. So I just did, and to be honest, it turned out to be a really successful night. And we continued to work together then for quite a few events after that. We did part ways. We did go our separate ways eventually over other differences. It wasn't a spiritual difference. I think she's a very good medium. I still think she's a very good medium. And I went out on my own. I was also with another ghost hunting group at the time, being their medium. And I just started doing the shows on my own. And up until 2016, I guess, when I started to get ill, I was working a full-time job in the motor trade as a manager, as after sales manager in a big Ford dealer. Busy job, very demanding. And I was coming home, rushing home, jumping in the shower, grabbing a piece of toast or a biscuit and rushing off out, either doing demos or doing readings. Getting back in the early hours, not really looking after myself. Buzzing on a high as you usually are after you've done readings, like adrenaline buzz. Couldn't sleep, with the early hours of the morning before I'd get myself to sleep, and then I'd have to get up next day back to work again. And this cycle probably went on for 4 or 5 years, I guess. Eventually caught up with me, and I got so ill. It knocked me off my feet. Lost nearly a stone in just over a week. Luckily, the employer I'd got Bupa, private healthcare. I did go and see my own doctor, and it was 6 weeks before I could see a gastrologist or whatever. So I got in touch with Bupa, and they saw me within a couple of days. Had some tests, had some scans, X-rays, blah blah blah, and the big C word was mentioned. Pancreas, and I was shown the scans, and there was a big black shadow over my pancreas. Strangely, I didn't react, and looking back now, I was very calm. I think I made my peace with it very early, that if that was meant to be, that was meant to be. I've pretty much always been like that in life. What's meant to happen tends to happen. We got talking of the only thing that baffled them, it wasn't showing really in my blood, but apparently that sometimes can happen. Started talking about radiotherapy and chemo and what would come next, and I was like, no, let's just nature take its course. Wasn't too, didn't really, I suppose I was in a bubble that I thought it didn't really affect me. It was more, oh, what am I leaving behind? My wife, my kids, grandkids. I was more concerned what I was leaving behind, in all honesty. It was, well, okay, how long have I got? And he just said to me, I would get your affairs in order. Okay. I said, that's not really answering, so I can't answer that question. Okay, so we decided then that I would stop working. I was still employed at the time. I hadn't been into the work for months on end. I would go and sneak in, do some work, and I'd get caught and get kicked out again because I was on an open-ended sick note, and there was no end date, because when was the end going to be? Nobody knew. At that point, I thought it was very unfair. I had very good terms with my boss. I thought it was very unfair that I would end it like that, and expect them to pay me, which just went against my way of thinking. So I resigned. I resigned my position, and we decided to sell the family home, get rid of the mortgage and what have you, and set my wife up in somewhere that she could look after herself. It was, manageable for her. 3 months into all this, I had a phone call out the blue. Could I go to the local hospital I think it was a Saturday morning? They'd had a new scanner, or they'd got a scanner that they were going to give me another scan. Okay, so I went. Even the radiologist at the end of it, which was, I remember to this day, very poignant, he put his hand on my leg after it was finished. He said, I'm so sorry. So all the pointers were that I wasn't going to last long. And then they wanted to see me again at the private hospital, and I went back for a colonoscopy, and the doctor I'd been seeing had to rush away to a funeral. And this other doctor, he introduced me within minutes, like, this is Dr. So-and-so, he's going to be doing this procedure for you. Okay, and off he went. I was sedated and vaguely remember him coming back in at the end of it, and I just remember the words, it's Crohn's, to my wife. And I just vaguely remember she said, I beg your pardon. And he said, it's Crohn's disease. It's 100% it's Crohn's disease. I'd never heard of Crohn's disease. I didn't even know what it was. I thought it was something that belonged to old women and witches or something. I'd never heard of it. And obviously then you get the advice and what you do. And I didn't eat. I went on a liquid diet for 6 weeks. I was lifeless. Absolutely. I was still convinced at the time that my time was up, expecting it to happen any time. And slowly they put me on some steroids, actually, which absolutely sent me crazy. I was seeing all sorts of weird things like dinosaurs and great big spiders coming out of walls and mirrors. And eventually, after 3 weeks, I remember saying to my wife, I've got to stop taking these things. I'm hallucinating. I'm seeing all sorts of strange things. And she says, well, I'm really pleased you've said that. Thank God. She says, because you've been talking absolute rubbish for the last 3 weeks. So they obviously affected me in a strange way. But they did take the pain away. It was the pain I've never experienced pain like it. I was doubled up literally 24 hours, so bad that I was on my bed, literally doubled up in pain night and day, couldn't move, couldn't walk, crawl to the toilet, constantly throwing up. Oh, it was horrible, horrible. I wouldn't wish it on somebody I really disliked. But things sort of improved and I managed it up until 2017. I carried on working at another job. We moved down to Wales. We've got a little holiday property in Wales. I got a smaller job, if you like, in the same line, but a lot smaller, thinking I could manage it. We came back up, we'd sold the house we'd bought to downsize and came back up to the Midlands and found my mum was really poorly. My wife's mother was really poorly as well. My brother had been looking after her and he was struggling to look after her. She was very stubborn, my old mum, that she didn't accept help very easily. And when she did, she did the total opposite of what anybody told her for her own good. It was a strange relationship. Anyway, so we came back up to look after the parents. They both passed eventually. My mum passed in 2020, just in lockdown, March.
Sorry to hear that.
We had a strange relationship. We weren't close. We became estranged at the end, but it's a different story. And then lockdown happened. Before lockdown, I was still working. I was still ill, and a friend of mine, Dave, had got a demo to do and some readings in Sheffield. Somebody let him down, and he desperately needed some help. And Dave was the type of guy I could never turn away. Asked me if I'd go. No, and he says, "I know you're ill, but just do half the night for me. I'll do half, and you can do some readings in the other half." We went. We had a good night. Dave was hobbling around a little bit. Wasn't well. Neither of us were well. I don't think I've ever met a medium that's well, to be fair, that's in good health. And I remember asking him if he wanted me to drive because he got a sore leg, and he said, "No, I was ill. You know, I've asked you to come. I'll do it." And I just kept seeing this big C in the windscreen as the car driving home. And I just thought, oh, here we go again. It's me again. Turned out it wasn't me. It was Dave. Sadly, Dave passed. I carried a monkey on my back with that one for a while, a bit of guilt. Should I have done something? Should I have said something? But I realise now that I was being silly. I couldn't have done anything. I couldn't have said anything that made it easier for him. And unfortunately, the guilt kept me away from him a little bit. I should have seen him earlier than I did. I did see him before he passed. There was no malice at all. We were good friends. We had a good spiritual connection. We had a lot in common. We used to debate heavily about football and heavy metal music. And when we lost Dave, I sort of lost my way a little bit. I didn't want to know how could he go. It was a hard one. And I just turned my back and thought, no, I can't do this anymore, and lost my way. I guess I went back to work, back in the Midlands. Needed to work. We needed to buy another property, which we did. And then lockdown happened. We all know what happened in lockdown. It's horrendous. Because of my Crohn's, I was literally locked up for 13 months. I did walk my dogs. We've got a nature reserve, 100 yards, literally at the end of the street. You don't see anybody down there when I walk, so I did walk the dogs, I must admit it. I had to get out in the fresh air if I was driving stir crazy. 13 months. And I was working a little bit during lockdown, what I could help from it remotely. And of course, not being in a routine of eating again at certain times, like getting up for work at a certain time and having my dinner at a certain time. I guess I abused my body again a little bit during lockdown. That's when I felt like it, got up when I felt like it, went to bed when I felt like it. Wasn't the right thing to do when you got Crohn's. Absolutely not. And I went back to work after lockdown, and I just sat there the one day and I thought, why am I doing this? I hate doing it. I really dislike the job. And I thought, this life's too short. What I've been through and all the thinking my time had come, and it changed my life. It changed my perception. I thought, no, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be doing something I enjoy doing. Life's too short. And as I say, with Dave going so suddenly, we lost 3 or 4 members of the family in lockdown. I thought, no, time to quit. Luckily, my wife's got a reasonable job. Luckily, we've got no mortgage, so I was in a position where I wasn't the main earner anymore anyway. So I decided to quit, and I must admit that was hard again, because you go through the mental side of it of no use anymore. Although I'm still quite fit and active in most ways. I'm not at retiring age as such, but I thought, well, take early retirement. And my wife was quite right, and she says, well, look, when we had the kids, I had 15 years off work. It's time for you to take a rest and have a bit of time for you. And she's good as gold, backed me 100% in everything I've ever done. And has sort of allowed me to do it, really. But I'm better off, absolutely better off, not doing that routine of a 9 to 5 of a job that I didn't like, that was stressful, and I couldn't see the point anymore. And then I thought, well, what else am I going to do? But I am quite a handy person, and I've always done properties that we've lived in. I've always renovated properties. So I've spent my time doing that. And the spiritual side has always stayed with me. I've always done little bits, but I tended not to push myself. I've never been really good at self-promotion, if you like. I find it a little bit corny somehow. Don't know. Hard for me to do. And when I was working and doing the spiritual work and all the shows, and luckily I had my daughter who was doing all the admin for me, all the advertising, sorting venues out. Probably why I was so busy. I've never been much good at doing it myself. So I just sort of waited and waited, but I'm quite patient, and I know that spirit have always, when I tried to come back too soon, they've always pushed me back. I was like, no, wait, not your time. And I tried a couple of times to do things, and it was just not ready for it. Just couldn't do it, not ready. Wanted to, but didn't feel as though I was in the position. People would ask me for readings, and I didn't feel as though I could give 100%. And if I didn't feel as though I could give the person 100% reading, and it was correct, that I couldn't play at it, it had to be 100% or not at all. And it took me a long time to get back to that position where I felt that I could give 100% of the readings. And to be perfectly honest, I got really ill again at Christmas last year. I guess a bit of overindulgence just before Christmas. I got quite ill. And I've never been a heavy drinker, but a regular. I like a beer, but I cut all alcohol out totally, and I've been so much better since. That I felt in a position then that this wasn't going to be the issue anymore. And so I had to stop making excuses, really, and get back to it. So I did a few, let's say, secret readings where I didn't tell anybody. I just arranged with people that offline that they wanted readings, that asked me in the past, so the contact came offline. And I did quite a few, and they were validated again. And I felt as though the information was good again, and I got to where I should be. So all guns blazing again. And again, I went for a bit of a doubt, and then it was again, this was a funny coincidence. A pub that Dave used to work at, and he used to do a charity night there once a month. During lockdown, the landlady, she retired and moved up north. Out of the blue, I hadn't spoke to her in such a long time. And out of the blue, she sent me a message saying somebody was looking for some mediums to do a charity event for some kids' charity. I couldn't refuse, even though I hadn't done anything actively for such a long time. I couldn't refuse that. So I did that. It was very successful. I had a good night, and I thought, this is what I've got to be doing again. I can't just walk away. I've tried to walk away so many times, but never been able to. And it's always when I've had a bit of self-doubt. Something that's always like Beth, that was out the blue, to be perfectly honest, being on Beth's show. I was having a little bit of self-doubt again in me. Should I, shouldn't I? Should I just walk away? Should I forget it? Is it going to make me ill again? Because I am really, really conscious of, I can't be ill again. It makes me so ill that I just can't do it again. I really don't want to be ill again. But it doesn't seem to be affecting me that much. I was meant to do a psychic fair a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, I did get ill on that one, the day on the morning. It can't be helped. You can be perfectly well 1 minute, half an hour, and I can be really ill again in half an hour. It's strange. It doesn't happen very often, and they don't last as long anymore. So I think I'm managing it better now. I think again, spirits have always sort of looked after me, and they've kept me when I thought, right, I'm going to go and do some readings now, and I'm just about to put online, right, I'm available. And yeah, no, don't do that yet. And I haven't been feeling 100%, so it's been the right thing. And I'll keep, strangely, the one thing I keep feeling and getting, and it's a very strange one. It's a film that Kevin Costner was in, Field of Dreams. If they'll build it, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
I feel like that sort of feeling inside me, that just be patient and it'll work itself out. So I haven't really pushed myself too much. If people ask me to do readings, I happily do them, and I go and do them. But I haven't pushed myself yet. I don't think it's the right time to start going full bore at it. And being totally honest, I've had August off because I've had to get the house finished because we're trying to get on the market. We want to move somewhere a little quieter. So I've sort of had most of this month where I put at the beginning, I won't be available till the middle of the month. I am now sort of available, but I'm still busy trying to get the house on the market before the winter comes. It's time for us to move again. I've got this obsession somehow with moving, I think. At least it gives you time to get rid of all your rubbish and all your junk, and have a life clear out of all the things that you don't use and haven't used in 6 months. Don't know. Yeah, where we used to keep a lot of memorabilia, and I used to keep a lot of things, but again, that side of my life's changed. I'm not materialistic particularly anymore. It doesn't matter because I can't take it with me. I realised what I was going to leave behind before. You come in the world with nothing and you leave with nothing. All that material stuff around you doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's nice to have nice surroundings, of course it is. It's nice to have heat in the house and food on the table, of course. I know a lot of people struggle with that, but I don't feel a big pressing issue to go out there and go and self-promote and do loads of shows again right now. I just feel I've just got to go nice and gentle back into it and work myself in. And I think that's the best way for me to move forward. And that's how I'm progressing, in all honesty. Excuse me.
No, so I'm going to say some hellos now. I know I said hello to somebody. I'm going to read through the list. So Cowabunga, hello to you. Hello to Annie. Hello to Wendy. Hello to Charles. Hello to Susan. Hello to Lorna. Hello to Moira. Hello to, I think I said Annie. Charles, did I say you? Susan. What's the names coming up? Gillian. Mick. Joanne. Hello. Yeah. I'm trying to just get these, just to make sure I say hi. Hello to my dear friend Nanny Lynn. Let's see who else is here. I think that's, Sam, hello to Sam. How are you doing? I hope you're doing good. I think I said Mick. Jules, hello to Jules.
Hi, Jules.
Gillian, I think I said hello. And Gillian, I will pull this up to say I'm sorry to hear this. Crohn's is very painful. My aunt suffered from something similar, and it was awful to see him in pain. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. So I am sorry to hear that, Gillian and Cowabunga. When you've got painful chronic illness, you need to spend that energy you have on what makes you happy. And your partner sounds wonderfully supportive. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely correct on both.
Danny, I'm not quite sure what this one is here. What are your thoughts on lower brainwashing ritual of the Oh right, yeah, I'm not sure. It's I mean the pentacle that way is very protective and is a good way. It's if it's the pointed way up, you've got to look at. So I didn't quite get that one then. Yes, there's a few other people. Here, Exploring the Afterlife are here, so that will be both John and Lindsay, I think. Hello to yourselves watching. I hope you're doing really good. So yeah, I'd just like to, when you do your readings, which I was going to go into at some point, you like using cards. I remember when I heard you on yes, Lindsay, hello to you. When I heard you on Beth's show, you also like using Beth's card, but you also like using other sort of cards. So what sort of other ways you like to give readings for people? What do you enjoy, Beth?
It's only recently, to be perfectly honest, that I've got into using cards. I've never felt the need to. In the past, I would just, I guess, again, somewhat a little controversial. It's the meditation and preparation thing. I used to go through that side of meditation before I'd go out, but I never had, because I was always rushing around. I always sort of cut it short and never really did it properly, I guess. So I didn't feel as though it was something that I regularly needed to do. So I would just turn up and I would just read. I didn't take cards. I had no tools, gimmicks, uses. Didn't use anything. The only thing I've always had, and I stole it off my wife. I carry that, and I don't know what it is when I'm reading. I don't know whether it's the energy or what it is, but she calls it me dummy. Um, even when I do the platform and stage work, it's always in my hand. And that was it. I would just go and read. And it was only when Beth's cards came out, actually. I can't remember. I think I might have won them. I don't know whether I won them or bought them off. I can't really remember, because I know I won a couple of those psychic challenges she does. Anyway, as soon as I opened them, because I had some Rider-Waite tarot cards. I bought those years ago. Tried to use them. Couldn't really get to any sort of connection with them. I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't get anything. Didn't feel as though I was getting anywhere. Tried paraphrasing, tried reading the books, tried everything, and just, no, these are not working. Let's try something else. Again, it's only recently, when I got hold of a set of Beth's cards, that I opened the box. As soon as I opened the box, they came in the post, and I opened the box, it was like, wow, absolutely felt wonderful. I don't know what it was. It was just like a light opening up in my hands somehow. And I just started looking for them, and they're straight to the point, and the photography, the pictures I could relate to. Absolutely brilliant. And Beth had mentioned about me going on the show at some point. I put her off a couple of times, actually, again, not feeling that I was quite in the right place. And then I thought, well, I can't really go on Beth's show and just use Beth's cards. It's a bit cheeky if she's using them as well. And also I thought, well, it's a bit samey as well for people who are having the readings if we're both using the same cards. So I hunted and hunted and hunted for some cards that I could use on Beth's show. And I came across Earth Wisdom. Actually, I've got them here. Earth Wisdom by Barbara Moore. And again, I like them because they're very to the point. A one-liner, perhaps. But you can build around that one-liner via the energy in the picture, as I say. And Moonology was another one. I think there's a Yasmin Boland.
Yeah, can you show some of them to us, if that's all right?
Yeah, of course. Strangely, I do pick a card generally for myself most days, purely and simply just to see how it reads, and I just find that they've been so accurate. These are the Earth Wisdom ones. I mean, I'll show you a few pictures, and we're getting to got to get in the right place, haven't I? That way. Sorry.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yep, it's in. They're lovely.
They are very good to the point. I just like the heal thyself. They're just a very easy sort of. I can relate to them somehow. Divine light, and I can build something around it. And I just seem to have a connection that I've got with those. And the Moonology ones, again, that's the front of the box, Moonology, Yasmin Boland.
I
And
like the look of those.
These are very, very much the same. I really like these. I just took to them. Again, they're very, very pretty much straightforward card. If you can see that, very much look at the bigger picture. They're very much. I like the one-liners. I don't like loads of. You interpret. I mean, they interpret different for everybody else, but they are really nice. Upside down, but they are really nice. They feel a really nice energy to them. And Beth, very much like Beth's, straight to the point, really. If you can get those, I recommend these by Beth. They are absolutely brilliant cards to work with. And you probably know her family have took all the photographs, but again, no long explanations, very much to the point. Oops, ironically dropped them. But again, I was the owner. I've took to these 3 packs. As I say, Beth's, I absolutely love the energy that you get from them. I'd never thought I could use them, to be perfectly honest with you, before, but it was only when I got those 3 sets of packs, and I've done quite a few readings with them since, that I've got faith. I've got faith in them that they work well for me.
Excellent. I just want to say hello to Gillian. I thought I did say hello. If I missed you, I'm really sorry. Debs, does say hello to you? And the people's names are coming down quite quickly. Claire, hello to you. So I apologise if there is anybody that I have not said to. If it's like Wendy just said, can you just pull one out for her? I mean, I know that people can do one reading, but you're right just to pull one out. Thank you.
Any pack, or would you like a particular pack?
Wendy, which pack would you like to have pulled out for you? There's a little bit of a delay before we get the question come back. Yeah, all good.
I'll pull one out of
Wendy.
Why not?
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, they tend to find themselves. They pull themselves. I mean, I gave these. I was doing a reading recently, and I didn't use any of the cards. I just literally went with me Diddy, and I read for this lady. And then afterwards, I said, I'm going to pull. If you don't mind, I want to pull some cards in. I said, in fact, I'm not going to pull them. You're going to pull them. So I let her shuffle the cards. She pulled the cards, pulled 3 out of each pack. And then we started turning them over in it. And she says, it's just relating to everything you've just told me in the reading. And as well, it's meant to, really. I'm glad that's happened, because that's what really supposed to happen. And then a couple of weeks later, I got another phone call. Could I go back and read for a mother? I tend to work on recommendations more than advertising, in all honesty.
Yeah.
A lot of the readings I do now are from recommendations. And I read for a mother, and I did exactly the same. The cards just backed up everything I'd already said. And I was like, wow, I walked away. And even now, I still get wow moments. It's just so there's not. Let me see where I'm going with these, because there's not one jumping out. What was the lady's name? Sorry again, Paul.
Wendy. She did say any card, so yeah, Wendy, and she says thank you too.
Right, not a problem.
Thanks for this, Alan.
That's absolutely fine. I usually let them jump out themselves, but that time they didn't when I was shuffling. So I've just got to feel where I need to stop. Just bear with me a second. Strangely, there's 2. Right. One is New Beginnings, and the other one, Home is Where You Park It. Now, New beginnings. I want to say how I'm feeling with that. Home is where you park it. I feel that this there's definitely going to be new beginnings, but I feel as though it's more of a house move. Correct me, job move. It will be a change in your life. This is really strange because I'm seeing boxes packed up. I'm seeing boxes, but I also feel as though it's something to do with job, unless it's you need to move house because of a new job role. Home is where you park it. Yeah, I feel as though it's a new home, but it won't be this year. And this will be going into March, April. They're telling me March the 18th to look out for. Things are going to start to progress rather rapidly from that date, and it will be a bit of a rush at the end to get things all cleaned up and tidied up. Let's just have one out of the moonology as well, to see if I can what goes with that. It's a bit confusing because I feel as though there's something with the job, but I can also see how boxes, as though they're packing up boxes to move house, which is possible. Like I say, I do feel as though it could be a job related move and moving for a job or to a job. There you go, one's called out. What do you need to release? Which again, what do you need to release? What you need to release to start that new beginning. There's an awful lot of activity around this lady's energy. I'm feeling as though it's pulled a little bit from pillar to post. Again, I think she looks after everybody else rather than herself. And that sort of makes sense with it all. You need a practical plan. Which sort of, again, feel that you're going to have to plan a house move, you're going to have to plan your job move. This sort of seems to me as though those are all linked. You see how it seems to work? Again, if you can't relate to any of that, but it will come. I think you should be looking at March the 18th. I also get a D name linked with using spirit, a male D name. I don't give names unless I'm absolutely 100% that it's correct, because you can just end messing, can't you? I don't like to do that. If it's going to be a name, I'm going to make sure it's the right name. A transformation. New beginnings, a transformation. They all sort of link together to me, that this person is going to have a change in her life. I do feel as though it is a work-life balance change. I do feel as though there's going to be some movement around her. There's the D sending love and sending pink flowers. Pink flowers to me is a love rather than any other sort of celebration. I don't think there's a celebration coming in. I think this person is just sending the love. Excuse me, it does make me a little bit warm when I read. I hope that makes sense for you.
Yeah, please let us know, Wendy. And thank you for that. I'd just like to say hello to Leah and Alison who joined in. Please let us know, Wendy. We did have a Sue that said she wanted to have one later on, if that's okay. But I just thought, so I don't know if you prefer to just do them and then do a bit more of a chat at how it works best for you.
I'm not go with the flow.
Okay. Well, we'll get one for Sue. I'll just try and get her up, and then I'd like to talk about some of the haunted locations you went through, because that was your first step into this. So that'd be really good to hear some of those. So we do Sue, and then we'll move on to talking about there we go, Sue Cook. I would like a card, please. I'll leave Sue Cook up for now, and then we can talk about the ghosty stuff. Would be really cool. Thank you for this, Alan.
That's absolutely. Oh, there we go. It's pulled itself out. Crystal. Notice the signs. Notice the signs. Keys. Notice the signs. There's something to do with keys relating to that. Notice the signs. A key's gone missing. A key keeps moving. something to do with a key. Key to a red door. Why are they telling me a red door? Key to a red door. That's your second card. Shine your light. And one pulled out. Chill out time. Now, notice the signs. Notice the signs. The signs going on. I still think there's something to do with a key. The keys rattling, jingling. Maybe it's been heard. I can hear keys rattling. So there's something to do with keys. Shine your light, and chill out time. You've got to make time for yourself, obviously. Chill out time. Shine your light. You need to be yourself a little bit more. I think your personality has been a little stunted somehow. There you go. Two have fell out, so I take those. Personal issues reach a resolution, and nothing is set in stone. Now, what that's telling me, a personal issue reaches resolution. As I was saying, I feel your personality has been stunted. You need to be yourself more by being yourself, shining your light, be you. This takes some time for you. Definitely take some time for you. There's somebody in spirit trying to help you along this. You've been through a bit of a difficult time. Personal issue reaches resolution. Nothing's set in stone. Life is fluid. What your life plans sometimes are, as mine were, sometimes get changed. They're not set in stone. Things can change. You have to adapt to your circumstances a little bit more. I feel as though that you need to diversify a little bit on the path you've been going down, and I feel as though you just got to take that leap of faith, really, to do something new. But there's somebody in spirit that's definitely trying to make you notice things, and he's around you. Tall gentleman, glasses, very white hair. When he was obviously getting older, but he had shiny shoes. Show me very, very shiny shoes. I feel like he's a he would be grandparent or great grandparent, because he's up a couple of levels from you, and I feel as though he's definitely around you, looking after you and looking out for you. I hope that makes sense for you.
Brilliant. I had Leah just said these readings are great. Also, as well, Wendy said she'll have a good think on it. So, Wendy, if you can message me, because it's always nice when people do these readings to let them know what's come out,
Something
and that would be
something very big around March the 18th for her. If it isn't something that's passed, it's definitely something that's coming up in March the 18th. It will be a massive date for her.
Lovely. Thank you, Alan.
Pleasure.
So yeah, some of these haunted locations, then it'd be great to get, because it's recommendations you do now, have people get in contact with you, but so people know about that and have people get in contact with you. So I know people can highly recommend. I did a lot of events. We did back in the day. I did one for at Dudley Castle, actually, for children in need. We did fantastic
event. I was the medium there. That was a really nice, strange event. That was. A lot happened that night. A lot of activity. Again, I'm not into the. How can we put it? I'd rather do investigations than ghost hunts. You know the difference, obviously. Ghost hunt is a little bit more for the public, isn't it? And they're not really, the thrill seekers, if you like. I've had a few of those where people are, I don't believe any of this, and as soon as something goes on, they're the first out the door.
Yeah.
But hey, I always used to think when things like, well, why are they running? That's what you're asking for. You're calling out and asking things to happen. Why are you screaming and running away? We did one there a few years ago. I found there was a couple of the Station Hotel in Dudley as well. We did those rooms, the haunted rooms upstairs and the cellar. My interpretation of what went on in the cellar was a little bit different and a bit controversial to everybody else's, and the original and the story that's out there in the media. I still disagree with it, and I've always disagreed. I don't think what happened the way it was supposed to happen in the cellar, of the girl being murdered in the cellar and carted in a barrel. I don't think that really happened. And I think with the ghost hunting side, people expected something to happen. Well, on real investigations, you could be in somewhere for 4 or 5 hours for 10 seconds of something to go off. And some nights we went, and I would never try and, not say manufacture anything, but if there was nothing there, there's nothing there. Sometimes you can be totally wasting your time. If it's not an active location, it's not an active location, or it might be not active that night.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be upfront with people and just say, sorry, there's nothing happening, than try and embellish it. I had some scary ones, don't get me wrong. I had a really scary one in a quiet little country pub. This was a strange one, and it sort of put me off doing these investigations. I worked with our own team, as we had then. There's my daughter, my wife, a couple of friends, a guy who used to do the techie, a very good guy with the techie stuff. And we were just setting up to do this investigation in this public house. And there was a sort of a bar area where we were stood, and then there was like 4 steps down, and then there was another seating area. Well, I was just going to put a locked off camera down those steps into that area, and nobody will tell me I didn't see this. And it's a strange thing. I feel a little bit strange admitting this, but what I saw that flashed in front of me on these stairs was it was about 3 foot tall, and I would say it seemed to be a cross between a lizard and a cat. It was a very strange little thing, and it was there for a second or two. Whoa! As I did, everybody turned around. What was that? And the others just saw the ping of it sort of dissipating. Frightened the hell out of me, it really did. I to this day, I've got no idea what that thing was. It put me off doing them for a while, to be perfectly honest. There's nothing frightens me. I'm not a person, apart from snakes. There's nothing that actually frightens me. But that frightened me. It really did frighten me. I couldn't understand what it was, and I stopped doing them for a while, to be honest, because of that. That I didn't want to see when I thought something was after me. It sounds really strange now, and my logical mind was no, but everybody else saw something as well, just as it sort of dissipated. That was an interesting one. We had one that we got called to. Again, it was a hotel, and a publication hotel in Oxford. That was a strange. They've got webcams set up all over the place to broadcast live. They'd been tested. They were their own equipment. They weren't our equipment. We'd set our own equipment up as well. Strangely, everything just turned off. Everything just went dead. The batteries on everything went dead. You couldn't get ears working. We did get. It was very in and out. I remember walking into the lounge area around the other side. Everybody was in one room, and I put my torch down, pointing up the room. Started walking up the room, and the torch came flying past me. That was a bit. Whoa. I've had some scary moments like that. But again, I've never been hurt. I've never been scared, if you like, of it. It's usually somebody just trying to make themselves known. But he was troublesome. And the landlord did want him rid of, but I did get rid of him eventually. It took a long time, but I managed to get him to go. But I needed somebody to come and fetch him. But my guide's always around me. She always has been, and I realise now that she helps so much, and she had to step in that time because I was a little bit out of my depth, I think, with him. He was a strange one. That one was. Yeah, I had a scary one. It ended up in a magazine, actually. This was a local wooded area. It's an old ancient wood, not far away. One night we decided to go and do an investigation there. It was always, supposedly as a child, it was supposed to be a haunted location. We went. As I got back in the car, probably 2-3 o'clock in the morning, I felt somebody was behind me. I knew somebody was in the car with me. Took no notice such. felt somebody as I was opening the door at home, sort of as though somebody bumped into me. Went to bed. My wife was fast asleep, and in the night, I just remember waking up with my wife thrashing around in bed. I was like, "What's going on?" Turned the touch light on the side of the bed, and she was blue. Her lips were blue, and I was like, "Ah!" And I could see this figure over her with his hands around her throat. My first instinct, you push, get off. And as I sort of came to, she sort of and gasped a breath. And
Wow.
we actually watched him walk out, and it was a shadowy figure with a big, large brimmed hat. And we both saw that man at that time. He tormented us for a few months. I got turned. I'm a very mild-mannered guy, but I turned quite nasty with people and very short-tempered. And I believe it was the influence of this guy. My son was working for me at the time, and we watched him walk into my son's room. And overnight, my son is a 6 foot big teddy bear. He really is a big dafty. And he turned overnight from being the softest lad you'd ever met to being the biggest pain in the backside and the horriblest person you could ever meet. To the point where it was getting close to him and me ending up in fisticuffs, which was not either of us wanted. I think I sacked him at the time as well because of his attitude and one thing and another, which was it's not the thing you want to do with your own family. But then, again, how do we get rid of this guy? When he went out, I was in his bedroom trying to get rid of the guy. We put salt in the corners and all sorts of things. And I tried every trick in the book I could find to get rid of him. Eventually, just one morning, he came down and he was back to himself again. And this guy, we'd never seen him since. But he plagued us for ages and ages. Yeah, it was horrible, horrible.
That does sound horrible. I was going to say hello to, so just quickly, say hello to Charlotte and hello to Laura Moulton. I hope I got your name right. And you're USA. I think I read that when I saw it coming through. California, USA. So hello to you. Just wanted to get that in. And the other thing I want to say is Sue Cook said, "Wow, spot on everything. I totally understand. Thank you for your reading that you did."
Thank you.
So sorry, you were just about to say before I read out those names.
Yeah, and that story about that gentleman, as I say, he wasn't a gentleman. He was a really horrible spirit. And I think he came back from that investigation I did in the woods. But that is a strange place. It really is. It's a strange old ancient wood. There's been the times when, again, that day, I remember the day leading up to that, and I always made sure that nobody told me where we were going. I didn't want to know. I couldn't research anything then, because if you're cheating, you're only cheating yourself as well as everybody else. And the one person I'm not going to cheat is me. What's the point of that? So I always used to say, don't tell me anything. Don't even tell me where we're going until we're on the journey. Then it's proof there's no way I can do any research. But I'd known this wood. I grew up close to this wood. And during the day, my wife's Catholic upbringing, I started talking a foreign language which I didn't quite understand not long before we went on this investigation. And she says, you're reciting a Latin prayer. Well, I don't know any Latin. I don't know any Latin prayers. I never went to that sort of a school and church. I don't. Anyway, cutting the long story short, we ended up having two Roman soldiers following us around the investigation. And it turns out that just on the brow of the hill there was a Roman campsite, which I didn't know about, and I'd grew up in that village all my life, and I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some strange ones, some strange events with that. But I used to enjoy the actual investigations rather than the ghost hunts. The ghost hunts became a little bit gimmicky.
Yeah.
So
and you can go on some organised ghost hunts that will set you back nearly £1,000 as well. Some of them are pretty expensive.
Again, at the venues as well, started to get greedy. It was the explosion of the Ghost Haunted, I guess, on the telly, those sort of programs. And I think venues got really greedy and wanted stupid money. And again, I think they became overworked. You know, I felt sometimes I'd walk into a place that was a public event, and I think, well, spirits are fed up with people walking in and out. They don't want to be coming and being a show pony, if you like. You know, that's how I felt. There was the respect probably wasn't there for spirit that should have been there, because I think you should always respect spirit. They were people after all, you know, and you respect people, so why not respect spirit as well?
Exactly. My dear friend Nanny Lynn Sindri, who's watching at the moment, she said she really likes crystals and uses them a lot in her reading. Is there any crystals that you recommend as good sort of grounding, any protection whilst doing some of these investigations in these places?
The only ones I've ever used, as I say, is this. Literally, I'm not a big user of again, as I say, big user of tools and equipment and things.
Hmm.
I struggled with cards for a while, as I say, because I didn't
Hmm.
think that it was the right thing to do. I think it should have come naturally. Um, Somebody once said to me, a medium I really respected, he said to me once, there's a lot of mediums, but there's not a lot of true spiritual mediums that were born with it.
Hmm.
You can learn. I
Hmm.
guess I learned some of it, you know. Obviously I went to people and they taught me things. But I think you've got to have some sort of spiritual connection somehow. I don't know. I used to think that people used to say when I do a show, "Oh, that's really special." You so, and I was like, "No, no, no, I'm not special. I'm a black country lad." I thought that maybe I heard something on a different pitch, a different decibel, like a dog is on a different pitch. At one point, I thought, "Is that how I'm doing it? Is that what I can hear?" But then you've got to think, well, how do you accept the feelings you get, and you know, and how do you can't really explain a feeling. It's difficult. But I always said that when I did a reading, I would give exactly how it's given to me, and exactly because I remember doing one reading and I was adamant that I'd got this right person in front of me, and I knew I was correct. But let's just say I was a little bit guarded on the language I was using. A room full of people, you can't start effing and blinding. It's use a little bit of decorum. And until I said, and she just wasn't accepting these messages until I actually said, right, well, I'm going to tell you exactly how you're saying it then. So I went over to the table and I whispered to her, and she went, "Oh my God, I get it now." And it was because I'd said something the way he would have said it, the way the spirit would have said it, where before I was just trying to be polite. So it taught me never to be polite with it. Just give it, say
Hmm.
it as it is, absolutely as it is. It's not meant for me. It's not my messages. So I wouldn't try and put my spin on it, because it's interpretation, isn't it? You know, you can misinterpret a message quite easily. But if I always listen, and I used to say it was like somebody said, "Well, what's it like when you're doing an audience night or a stage show?" And it was, to me, it was like walking in front of having a room full of radios, 100 radios on, all on a different station, and I would pick the loudest or go to the loudest one, or where, you know, that's the way I and I still do when I walk into a room full of people. If I was doing an audience night, when they're all gone quiet and shut up and waiting for me to say something, I can still hear all this noise going on, and then I just get pulled to where I'm going. So I've never been one for using much crystals, or I've always protected other people at the ghost hunts. But again, I've always felt as though I've been protected anyway, and I've probably been a bit blasé with my protection. Perhaps that's why that guy came and latched onto us that once, because I hadn't really protected myself enough. I've learned a lesson, as you do.
Yeah, and my good friend Nylene says, I believe we all have the ability, but choose different paths. And
Absolutely.
also, yeah, and Joanne says, I think frequency is indeed the key to all. To be honest, Alan. So yeah, I think frequency. Do you think though that a lot of children may be able to have the ability as they're younger, but unfortunately, it's
Absolutely,
yeah.
100%. I got, again, a couple of stories. I've got 12 grandkids. The eldest is autistic. He's a good lad now. He's 16 now. But when he was very young, just able to talk and still in a baby seat in the back of the, well, a child seat in the back of the car. He said to my daughter once, as they were going past the hospital, "That's where that little boy died that comes to see me." Now, that was a strange one, to the point where my daughter got a little bit worried when she heard him talking to somebody in his bedroom. And she would sit outside to make sure he was outside his bedroom. But the autism sort of thing, is it that? Is it spirit context? It was a difficult one until I went and sat outside the bedroom door once when he was in bed, and he was having a full-blown conversation with somebody. Without a doubt, he was answering, waiting for somebody to speak, and he was answering, without a doubt. So yeah, children, without a doubt. I think they've got a mind where it's uncluttered with all our day-to-day rubbish, if you like. Things we have to do, you pay your bills and you've got to go to work and your food shopping and blah blah blah. I just think that their minds are a lot less cluttered than ours. But I think if it's not nurtured, I think it goes very dormant, and I think it did with, it does with a lot of people, because I do think that everybody has got an ability, absolutely, and a specialist in certain ways. Some people probably better clairvoyant than clairaudient. I think you're very lucky if you've got more than one. I do think that's it's a lucky thing to have. Look, that's probably the wrong word. It's hard to explain. I think I'm very fortunate. I think it'd be such a shame. Like in the past, I thought about walking away and not doing it. I think it would be such a shame. It's a shame that the stigma is still attached with children. That you can't teach a child how to be a medium or how to use that spiritual side, which is wrong. But why? I mean, it's the spiritual side of nature has been here a lot longer than education, and long before we were born. So it can't be bad. It's not done me any harm. It can't be bad. I just think that kids don't get the chance to be able to use it because there's nobody that will actually take them on to teach them, I guess. I mean, I've been asked to teach under kids have been having, and I've always said, I'll talk to them, but I'm not promising anything, and there's got to be a parent present, absolutely 100%. Kids have got they can embellish the stories, can't they? They've got imaginations as well, and you've got to be able to separate their imagination to what is actually true spiritual contact. That was a little thing we had with my grandson. I took him away when we moved to Wales a while ago to see if what was really going on, if I could get him on his own to talk about it, because I feel that he's very much like me, that he has got, again, the ability, but suppressed and has no idea what to do and how to do it. And I think other members of the family have, definitely. But so I went away, we took him away, and I realised that, yes, he was having some spiritual, he must have done from the things he was saying, but I believe then once he got it, he was embellishing it and making a story out of it in his own mind, because then I realised he was going on far too long and it was becoming a story rather than an experience, so yeah, I think you have to be careful with children, because it can screw your head a little bit. I mean, it screwed my head a few times, without a doubt.
Absolutely. So we got here. So I mean, absolutely for the children, not absolutely for you. So I just wanted to get that clear. Children are so pure till they start learning, and not by anyone's fault, but adults close children down.
Absolutely. I think it's fear.
Yes.
I think maybe fear. What could happen, or the unknown, But I do feel as though it's wrong to stunt the growth of somebody who's got some. At least explore it and get somebody that knows and help control it. Because if you don't know what you're doing, like I say, when I didn't know what I was doing, I went down all sorts of different paths and wrong ways and dead ends, and totally wrong. So I think you've got to give them some guidance and not just suppress it, because that's just the wrong thing to do.
Exactly. And Claire says, I think that we all have the natural ability to speak to spirit, but because the paranormal is a taboo subject for children. We forget those abilities as we age.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe it's like a muscle. If you use it, it gets stronger. If you don't, it'll always be there, but it just won't be that active. And I think that's definitely happened with me in the past, that those few years when I was so ill that I couldn't do it and wouldn't do it, and just, well, other things were more important, like my health, that it was always there, but I just didn't use it. And I've had to work at it again to get it active, you know. I think everybody's got a talent. I think everybody's got some sort of niche talent in life. I think some people are just lucky to find it, whether it be a spiritual nature or a musician, an artist. I think every person has got a talent. I just don't think everybody has the luck to find it. You know, that's the unfortunate part.
Exactly. I can't actually believe how quickly this show's going. So we've got 15 minutes left of the show. So it's gone really quickly, and thank you. So no, it's all good. You know, I like it. You know, I like it when I can just sit back and really enjoy, you know, listening to the guests and their wonderful experiences. No, so thank you. So people get in contact with you because I know that you took your website down so you could give yourself a bit of relax, but you know, it's through word of mouth now, so you are seeing some people for reading. So if anybody is interested, how can they get in contact with you?
At the moment, because I closed my website down when I got ill. Unfortunately, the guy who built the website, I'm no longer in contact with, and I can't remember the passwords or the logins or anything anymore. So that's a goner. I'm not even going to go there again. I don't think. To be honest with you, I haven't really got the time anymore to maintain it again. It was something my daughter used to help with. You know, Facebook is probably the easiest way to get hold of me. I'll always answer a Facebook message. Just send me a message, and we can either do it, you know, online or in person if they're close enough. But yeah, not a problem. The best way is, as I say, and the easiest for everybody is just contact me via Facebook. It's just Medium Allan Jones with 2 L's.
Absolutely wonderful.
And I'll respond, no problem.
Julian sort of said, I suppose it's like these children who talk about past lives, and yeah, that's you know me, it's a huge favourite subject of mine. But as they get older, they forget about it, and also as well, Julian, you know, and with like the medium things as well. You know, quite often you get the parents that say, "Oh, you know, don't be silly, don't tell tales." Anything else you want to add about that at all, about children talking about past lives experiences, or anything on that front?
Well, one of our youngest grandsons, he's how old is he now? He's just starting school, so 4 or 5, and he's talking to his dead uncle in spirit. He never met him, but he's talking about his name. He knows things that he shouldn't know. He's again. He reminds me so much of me when I was a kid. That's a little bit unruly, if you like. Because I was like that. I was never naughty, but I was a little bit. Always had a bit of a problem with being told what to like. But he's definitely talking to his uncle. He knows things. He knew him. He knew who he was from a photograph that he'd never seen before. He pointed straight away, Tony. You know, and he's only 5, so. Past lives, or is that spirit? That's spirit, obviously. Past lives, I find that very fascinating with children, that they can remember so much. I think I was reading one recently, one story about this kid, and he knew exactly every place in the city that he'd never been to before. I find that amazing. I really do. I mean, I've done a little bit of regression. I've done your CD, Paul. If people don't know,
Thank you.
If you haven't tried it, believe me, it's excellent.
Thank you.
And years ago, I went to another medium, and my wife actually, she was quite interested in regression, and we went to have a regression session with this other medium. It was successful, but it ended rather abruptly. It just at the end of it was a bit of a strange one. I was in the trenches in a war, and I believe First World War, because I could see those leg bandage things they used to have around the bottoms of the legs.
Yeah.
And I was mud and everything, and I was hearing bangs and very frightened, and then everything just went black. and I woke up, and I just find that really, really odd. Unless that was the end. Maybe I got to the end. I only remember being so scared and hearing all these bangs, and I remember really being frightened and huddling down, and a massive bang, and just everything just went black. So maybe I was blown up. Don't know.
If it was right next to you, it could have just all ended there and then.
Maybe that was the end.
Cowabunga said, "Enjoy this interview very much. Thank you for sharing your powerful stories. Please give your wife a hug from me for being there for you. Partners can go through so much." That's lovely, Cowabunga.
She's gone through so much with my health wise that, would be difficult. I mean, I thought I looked at it from another point of view. I always try and look at things from other sides. I think I've gone through life, and everybody I've ever worked with have always said that I'm probably the fairest manager they've ever worked with. And I've always tried to be fair with people all through my life. But she's gone above and beyond. I don't know whether I could have done it, when I've been so ill, to watch somebody that ill takes a lot as well, I think. I mean, I must admit it was a bit of a shocker, obviously, and it was bad for her when the C word was mentioned, because I was so calm. I remember saying to me, "How can you be so calm about it?" And my answer, "What could I do? There's nothing I can do there. I'm not going to worry about it for the next 6 months and worry about it." And I didn't, and I think I've come out all right at the end of the day. I'm quite happy about it now. But yeah, she's been golden, and she's always been there by my side. And we met at 16 on a blind date, and we've been married now 39 years last July.
Congratulations.
So the big 40 years next year.
Amazing.
We're deciding what to do. We were thinking we didn't really, back in the day, I mean, it was the 80s when we got married. We were married at 18, and we didn't really have a big party as such in those days. Money was tight, and I said, well, maybe we should have a big party and invite everybody we know. She looked at me and she said, "I'd rather go and see the Northern Lights." So maybe we'll be getting to the Northern Lights next year.
Oh, that'd be amazing to do that. It really would be.
Oh yeah, see those, absolutely. It's got to be a spiritual place to see those. It's just got to be something amazing.
Joanne said, "Alan, do you believe spirits can attach to objects as opposed to places exclusively? Because you do hear of haunted objects."
That's a strange one, really. Objects, energy, and objects. I mean, people say about haunted dolls and things. I've yet to encounter anything that I feel has been haunted object as such. I think people's energies on objects, without a doubt, and I think it does carry residual energy from people. Is it really haunted? Remains to be seen. I remain on that one. That I'd have to see to believe that one a little bit. I think there's my skeptical side and my logical mind cutting in again, because I have to see things, and that's why I guess I've struggled with mediumship, because I've got such a logical mind that I don't always believe everything unless I see it. And I remember somebody saying to me, "How can you be a skeptical when you're a medium and you're doing medium shows?" And I think it keeps my feet on the ground, keeps me real. I don't think it's done me any harm. I definitely don't feel as though I've got a massive inflated ego, and I've worked with many mediums that have got massive inflated egos, and I always said I'll never be like that, and I never want to be like that. And I guess that's probably something that, like I said to you earlier about the self-promotion, I find it a little bit off, and I guess that's my personality.
Yeah.
But objects, yeah, I think you can have bad energy, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I've not. I mean, I've touched the other day. Actually, I did. Again, this was just a totally off-cuff reading. A friend of mine was over here from Finland, and he was stopping with me in Wales. We went down for a couple of days. An old school friend. We've known each other since we were knee-high. And I just got this feeling that his mum was around. And he gave me this. He says, "Yeah, this bangle," and he gave me this copper bangle, what you'd wear for rheumatism. And straight away, his mum just started coming out with all sorts of things for him, and especially about some legacy jewellery. wasn't interested in the cost, and he was going to actually sell them to buy himself a new mountain bike, but his mom told him he couldn't, and he'd got to give one to each of his daughters, and that's what he's done now. And that was
Oh.
just by touching an object that it was the last thing she ever gave him when she was alive. And I just felt her energy straight off that. So objects, yeah, can carry. I think they can carry energy. Haunted, I'm not quite sure.
Well, I think just quickly that I'm very open to the possibility of objects being
Yeah,
haunted, but I do think there's a lot of things on eBay where they've picked a doll from an antique from a charity shop, kicked it round in the dirt for a bit, kind of burnt it, make it look a bit sinister, and then sell it on eBay as being haunted. So I think there's a lot of that around
yeah.
as well. But yeah, I am very open to genuine ones as well. Wonderful. Well, in the last 5 minutes, is there anything, Alan, that I haven't asked you think would be nice to add or finish on?
I think I've talked you silly, haven't I, tonight?
It's been brilliant, thank you. I've really loved it.
I just think, life gets very complicated for people. I think we're all guilty of rushing around and not taking time for ourselves and thinking about, like I said, I think I mentioned it to you earlier about our own mental health. I mean, I'm not saying I've particularly suffered from it. I've had doubts in my mind, and like I said, when I first got Crohn's, and I think people need to talk. Absolutely, 100%. I've been guilty of not doing it in the past, and bottling things up and not talking. And I think people have, especially now when things are so hard out there, and it is a hard world for people, and don't bottle things up. That just causes blackness and depression, and the black dog comes then. You've got to find somebody who can be empathetic with you, and just even if they're not giving you any advice, it's somebody just to spout to, isn't it? You know, that's the lessons I've learned in life, especially recently, that it's opened me up an awful lot, that I'm not frightened of talking about anything anymore to anybody who's willing to listen.
That's brilliant. I think that's a wonderful way of ending it. I'm sure there's somebody I didn't say hello to. I can't see a name here at the moment. If there's anybody there that I haven't said hello to, it's very good because lots of people watching tonight. It's been absolutely wonderful. So if I haven't read out your question, Jules, did I say hello to you? I'm not sure. But hello. I think it might have been Jem or somebody that I've not said hello to. But it's quite difficult sometimes. So I do apologise to anybody I haven't read their name out, and I do apologise as well if I haven't asked your question or your statement you thought would be good to add. Thank you so much, Alan. You want just to stay on 5 minutes after
Yeah,
we finish this message, and next week is Mickey Brown, a friend of Lynn's, Nanny Lynn Sindri, and myself, and that's going to be a really good one as well. Thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for your wonderful, wonderful comments. Whether it's day or night, have an outstanding one, and I shall see you very soon in the next live. Take care, everybody. Bye now.
thank you. Thank you, Roy.